Good afternoon, this is Jeff of Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at property address 8105 Southwest Seminole Trail here in Tualatin. I describe everything as if you're standing in the street facing the front of the house. So we are off to the right of the front doorway. Just as the concrete patio ends here, you've got a 3-inch ABS clean out. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero out once we hit the base of the clean out here. One of these fun, funky cleanouts that shoots under the patio. They do this so you don't have a cleanout sticking out of the concrete. Alright, we're going to zero out here and off we go. We'll get a better view here on the way out. I do believe you've got a root intrusion coming through here. Once we get the debris cleared out of the way back out, we'll get a nicer shot of that location, but it do look like root strands sticking out through the flow line there. Alright, now we're swapping over to concrete pipe. It would appear to be 6-inch diameter, and that is usually the case in Tualatin. It's 6-inch. And that looks like our main connection there at about 66 feet. And we're going to go locate here while the pipe drains out, and we'll take a better look as we come back in. Alright, I think I picked up the locate signal out on Seminole Trail. I'm getting some signals popping up in a couple spots. I even get somewhat of a signal out on Martinazzi, so I'm going to pull back in here a little ways. So, and unless something has changed, the city of Tualatin, last time I checked, does take responsibility. I believe it's from the right-of-way out. Not just the street edge out, but I believe it's the right-of-way. So right now my camera is upside down. If you look up at the top right-hand corner of the screen, you do have some red stringy items there, which may be roots. There's enough buildup in the flow line right now in some of those locations. It's hard to tell if that's what it is. You'd be surprised at the random kinds of debris that go down sewer lines from time to time. They can kind of mimic that look. There's some more of it there. Is every time you get back near a pipe joint, there's enough gunk in the flow line, it's hard to tell if they're actually roots punching through the flow line. So there, right there is some more. It's actually looking a little more like debris. Some roots are indeed red. I've seen plenty of them. This line could use some cleaning though. There's buildup in a myriad of locations throughout the line here. Here's another spot here. You can see there's more of that red substance that's gone down the line, and that's not attached to anything there. So that's why I'm leaning more towards that just being debris. I am going to recommend the line get clean though. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. The color of that's it's almost pink. All right, we are sitting right at the right-of-way, right where I would expect to see this transition, making our way out towards Seminole Trail. And that depth there, I almost don't believe it, but it may indeed be. This line dove down pretty good. I was getting almost 10 feet deep there at the right-of-way, which is in the grass just before the sidewalk, about 5 feet or so from the sidewalk edge. So by and large there, that pink stuff, and I was just telling the agent here, I can remember it as a kid. My dad's a dentist, and I remember the dental floss I used to use. It's like a thick, very strandy, almost like it's made of cotton string. It was about the thickness of yarn, I could swear, but I remember it coming in a reddish pink color. Dental floss is another thing that gets down sewer lines fairly frequently, and it will hang up. So you've got a stringy thing right here. The hard part is, of course, it's right at the base of a dive, where when you want to get a view of that joint, you just can't see it. If it's something that's coming through a pipe joint, there's so little there right now that I couldn't even tell you if that's a root or, again, if it's some kind of stringy item that went down the line like dental floss. And dental floss is a common thing I see. I've cambered almost 25,000 sewer lines at this point in my career and done a lot of drain cleaning, and dental floss is something I see frequently in lines. So here's one of those spots here where I can see more of that red gunk sitting in the pipe. Alright, let's do a toilet flush there to help break this stuff loose. And I'm leaving some water running here for a moment to help keep the camera lens clean while I run back and forth to this area here. Alright, I cleared enough of as much of that stuff as I can within reason here.
The fact that you can clear it is very good.
All right, so what I'm going to recommend here, and I realize you've got some stringy stuff in the mix, but it does not mean it's necessarily roots. The hard part here, I'm seeing a very similar colored substance throughout the entire sewer line, and you've got a myriad of different bushes and foliage out here. Not every bush puts off, I mean, nearly pink fuchsia colored roots. There's a lot of stringy stuff in the mix there, and a bit of it does look reminiscent of dental floss. I'm going to recommend the line get cleaned and jetted out, and then I would recommend a rescope afterwards, obviously to check to make sure that the work was done correctly, but also to see if there's any signs left over that roots have actually penetrated the line. I'm getting some of this stringy stuff breaking loose. That is not a terribly indicative thing for the average root to do with just a camera going through the sewer line. And I can see that you've got some stringy stuff leading back to that joint there, but there's also a little bit of an edge on that joint, giving it a spot for stringy items to get hung up on. And dental floss going down pipes is something you want to avoid doing because it's very strong. It gets hung up on things quite easily, and it can cause debris to hang up in the line. But you also want to, I mean, obviously post-jetting, see if there's any obvious signs that roots are punching through the joint. What I'm seeing right now, the coloration, typically your roots are going to be, they're pretty obvious when you see them. This is looking a bit more like debris that's gone down the line to me personally. Right now, there's just not enough there, in my opinion, to, with certainty, tell you that's indeed roots. I recommend a cleaning and a rescope.
How much does a jet cost?
All right, we're gonna go ahead and reel the camera out of the line here. There is no offset joints, no pooling, nothing of that sort going on the line. So once that debris has been knocked loose from there, again, it's possible it's roots. Right now I'd like to see the line cleaned up and see how it looks at that point to see if there's any obvious signs. I mean, those machines are pretty good at removing stuff, but often, unless you get really bear down on joints, you'll usually have some evidence left behind of roots still. So ideally what we do, I would like to be able to use some people that I know, ideally, so that we can kind of tailor that cleaning. You want to run the machine to the line and actually do it rather quickly. There's not a ton of heavy grease buildup in the line, but you don't want to let the machine sit in any area for too long. In the event it is roots, I don't want to erase the evidence of it. So there's a particular way of doing that, and I can help tailor the drain cleaning to that if we go that route.